This is one I have been dreading. Taylor Frankie Paul. If you know, you know. Why now? Because there's a show coming to Hulu that is disturbing and gross. There's also a statement from the leaders of my church, Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. And I have a suspicion that the timing is because of this impending Hulu show. Just look at the trailer. The Secret Lives of Mormon Wives. Welcome to True Crime Faith and Chocolate. I am your host, Annette Lyon, USA Today bestselling author of the suspense novel Just One More and a whole bunch of other stuff. I am also a woman of faith, member of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, a true crime junkie, and a chocoholic, so that's why we're here. And today I'm so sad to be talking about this show. Oh gosh, it makes me ill. This is gonna gross me out. I'll stop periodically. But if you haven't seen it, here's the trailer, and again, I'm going to be stopping periodically. Before I play it, I have to point out that the story here is literally a couple of years old already. In fact, when one of my daughters heard that this show was coming, she's like, "Why are they making that now? That's old news." It's old news to those who were aware it happening when it did. However, there's more of outdatedness on certain things. For example, the Provo Temple no longer exists like this. That's what it looked like, and obviously in the winter at some point. But it's been completely demolished. I'll show pictures of that as well. Going to be building a new temple. If you're looking at it like this, it'd be behind where you're standing. There's some grassy fields and stuff where that have been used for like park type things. There's a big parking lot and whatnot as well. When this promo was shot, it was probably a year at least. This whole story is just gross, and the idea they're all wearing these matching outfits it looks culty, which I know some people say that we're a cult, but at the same time, there's 18 or ish million of us. It's not a cult. It's others say high demand religion. I would argue that's more accurate. Let's watch.
I love the Mormon church, but there are a lot of rules that we have to follow. We were raised to be these housewives for the men, serving their every desire.
Serving their every desire? No. I think a lot of women could argue that they were raised with the mentality of they needed to be a housewife on some level. That's changing very, very much. But serving a man's every desire I was never taught that. Ever.
Have kids by the time you're 21, or in my case, at 16.
Okay. Have kids by the time you're 21. Okay, do some people do that? Older generations more so than now. The idea in her case that she became a mother at 16 because of pressure to be a mom is what she's implying. No. A baby out of wedlock is a much bigger issue than are you ever going to have children? Like they would say, don't do it at 16. Wait till you're older. Like having a baby at 16, I can guarantee you that is the most laughable thing to say that she became a mother at 16 because the church encouraged that or pushed. Even the most right-wing evangelical Christians would laugh at that. Like, that's ridiculous.
Well, I'm like, this.
Show me what you're working with.
Show me. I created Mom Talk.
I don't know how accurate that necessarily is. It seems ridiculous. That right there is Taylor Frankie Paul that we just saw. But she thinks that she created Mom Talk. I suspect that her little branch of moms on TikTok exploded because of, well, we'll get into some of that. But I don't think she created the hashtag or created moms on TikTok doing stuff. No, that seems like giving yourself a little too much credit, Taylor.
It's a group of Mormon moms making TikToks. It started with Whitney, Macy, Michaela, and I.
We're breaking a norm. We are trying to change the stigma of gender roles in the Mormon culture.
And I will say, yeah, a lot of people are trying to change gender norms and roles and that kind of thing. It's not just you, and they're not doing it in a healthy way.
That's what scares me. In the church, we have rules for a reason.
Macy, I need you to twerk your ass off.
Show me what you're working with.
My goal was really just to be able to provide for my family.
I will say what that husband said was that, yeah, we have rules for a reason. Now, regardless of what you believe, and I'm not here evangelizing, trying to convert anyone. I'm just adding clarity and insight through my lens, which you're not getting elsewhere. It's the same kind of thing. Like, we have rules that keep us safe. You know, you're supposed to wear a seatbelt. Literally, that will keep you safe. It's also a law that will keep you and others safe. There are guardrails for a reason. And so if you just decided to abandon them, yeah, there are going to be problems. Like, surprise? No.
Who is currently the breadwinner at home?
All of us.
Really?
That's right. We blew up overnight.
2 million followers.
9 million views.
Whoa.
It's been really crazy for us.
And then it just turned into this whole group is swinging with each other.
Wait, what?
Yeah. Only not official swinging. They call it soft swinging. They'll describe more in a minute and go into some of that. How that is somehow healthily changing gender roles it's not. And this is no shade on the poly community. The thing is if you are a part of a culture that is monogamous, you marry someone within that culture with the assumption that you'll both remain monogamous to each other for life, and then you step out of that. That's going to cause all kinds of problems. And though from what little I know about the poly community, it works when everyone involved has very clear boundaries and guidelines. Rules, you might say. Otherwise, it's not going to work. Like,
Mormon swinging scandal has hit Utah.
No one was innocent. Everyone has hooked up with like everyone.
Taylor announced that the group was involved in soft swinging.
It was like swapping in front of each other, standing next to each other.
Now there's a fight for mom talk.
You guys can't keep doing this.
The drama's now with the husbands.
The group is important to me.
Being divorced and taking care of 2 kids would be kind of tough, so you make the decision.
It feels like they're stuck in another era,
And it's starting to tear the group apart. Online, it looks like we're all the bestest.
another era because we believe in following through on your promises and not cheating on your spouse. Like, your spouse doesn't want it anymore, and you're like, no, I'm still going to do it.
Of friends, but we're not. Ooh, awkward.
We're the most devout out of the whole group.
and then there are others.
In what way do you feel like drinking helps you be a better mom? Oh my gosh,
point.
what is happening right now?
There's gonna be drama tonight. There's something in the air.
911, what is your emergency? Somebody is screaming, get off me.
What's your name?
And Taylor.
Taylor. At this time, you're going to be placed under arrest.
There's so many secrets, there's lies, gossip.
Sometimes fights are necessary. The gloves are off, baby. They're hurting so bad.
I'm done. I'm out. Can the group even survive this?
There's a whole story that we literally haven't told anyone.
Do not think it takes a rocket scientist to see that this is an unhealthy situation. Call me crazy. Clarify one thing, that Taylor Frankie Paul is in no way related to Ruby Frankie, Kevin Frankie, and that whole mess. Different family, different spelling. There's no connection there. Just clarifying out of the gate. As I record this late August 2024, we're very near a statement that the church put out. For the record, I don't know why it's making me look a little blurry. So, not a filter, I swear. I did all kinds of settings today trying to fix the problem, and I don't know what the issue is as of right now. But anyway, the church put out a statement about, let me read it. I'll put it up here so you can read it as well. So the headline says, Church releases statement on media portrayals when entertainment media distorts faith. So here's some of the text of that statement. The Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, like other prominent global faith communities, often finds itself the focus of the attention of the entertainment industry. Some portrayals are fair and accurate, but others resort to stereotypes or gross misrepresentations that are in poor taste and have real-life consequences for people of faith. While this is not new, a number of recent productions depict lifestyles and practices blatantly inconsistent with the teachings of the church. Others irresponsibly mischaracterize the safety and conduct of our volunteer missionaries. We understand the fascination some in the media have with the church, but regret the portrayals often rely on sensationalism and inaccuracies that do not fairly and fully reflect the lives of our church members or the sacred beliefs that they hold dear. And this next sentence is why I think it's this TV show and the whole Taylor Frankie Paul mess that was the straw that broke the camel's back and that was the impetus for this statement to be put out. Millions of church members around the world are deeply dedicated to family, fidelity, service, and the gospel of Jesus Christ. And it goes on a little bit from there. I think that's the crux, is that this show in particular is making it look like we're all these swinging, druggy, alcoholic whatevers, rather than this is a very small group of very immature 20-somethings who went big for bad reasons, and they are not representative of us remotely. So Taylor Frankie Paul herself, well, I'll focus largely on her, not just the entire Secret Lives of Mormon Wives. Oh, that title just makes me so mad too. She is very clear. Even in the trailer, she goes, I don't follow the rules. And she said this many times. She understands how social media works. She understands how to make money off of social media. And a lot of that is outrage, clickbait. So I think she calls herself Mormon or Latter-day Saint on purpose, not because she believes in it, not because she lives virtually anything of it, but because it gets devout members upset. It finds people who are ex-Mormon or anti, who it draws them in. It gets people who just have a weird fascination with the church. The whole voyeurism aspect, it draws them in. So she's getting, it's rage bait, it's clickbait. She's using herself as supposedly part of the Mormon church to get more views. She certainly doesn't take her vows seriously on any level. We'll link to MacKenzie Vance, who's also a YouTuber. She is a former member, and she talked about this situation, makes some really good points. And I'm going to be honest, I made so many notes on so many videos, I'm forgetting who made what point. So if I make a point that she made, I'm not trying to take credit for it. I don't remember necessarily who said what. One of her points was that, like, one of the TikTok videos that went crazy viral was saying that they did these all sexy dances on TikTok and then were like, oh, priesthood holders making me horny. And MacKenzie pointed out, in the church, boys as young as 12 can be ordained to the priesthood. And if you know that, you're like, wait, what? That's creepy. Did she mean that? Probably not. But did she clarify either? No, because she'll get more clicks if there's even the whiff of additional impropriety in another way. It would have made more sense for her to say elders, because that's about the youngest you're going to become an elder is 18 and up. It's an adult level priesthood thing. She could have clarified. Did she? Of course not. So that's the kind of thing we're looking at, where she is purposely putting out content using hashtags and words in her titles and everything else that will create outrage or massive curiosity or, throwing up red flags. Essentially, she has a group of friends. There's 4 girls initially that they hang out and they're doing these dances and whatever, and they start getting big. Supposedly they invented mom talk, or Taylor Frankie Paul herself did, whatever. I'm not saying who did or didn't, I don't know. And eventually their husbands start hanging out with the group as well. So now that we've got 8 of them together. Now, according to some of the interviews that she's done, alcohol and other substances, I can imagine weed, I don't know what else, I'm going to guess other things, but who knows, get introduced into their parties. But that is the first big red flag. Even if it had just been alcohol, because that's crossing a huge boundary within the church culture. Now, a lot of people are like, what's the big deal if it's just a beer, if it's da-da-da. And look, I'm going to back up and give an example as to why it's not just a beer. I know of a young man back in the day, a man who the day before, Mormon guy, so the day before his wedding, he made out with an ex-girlfriend. They get married, and a couple days later, I guess it came out that he had this big little makeout session. She was just obviously very hurt. But the justification that everyone who found out about it was making was that he didn't go all the way with the ex-girlfriend. So it wasn't fully cheating. But here's the problem, is that the night before his wedding, he was a virgin. So he did cheat with his ex-girlfriend as far as he had ever gone before. He had completely 100% cheated to the level if he had ever done anything before. That is full. So once you cross to the next stage of whatever, that's the next benchmark. That's changing the dynamic and the definition of everything. So this is a group of people who have not probably ever had alcohol in their entire lives and have actually promised not to, who have committed not to. When you're introducing alcohol into that circumstance, it's a completely different animal from if you were to introduce it and to say a college dorm of friends who occasionally have had alcohol before, and that's just what they do. That's common for them. You're taking a very different situation here. And so it's a much bigger deal when you have this small group of Latter-day Saints, young newlyweds, suddenly drinking alcohol. That's like the college dorm people suddenly doing meth. But that's also, red flags start going up. If it's a red flag for them on that level, other things start coming in. She talks about how things began with, couples just kind of crashing and just hanging out on a bed and then groping each other. I guess anyone, fair game. And then eventually that led to what she called soft swinging, which was usually in front of everybody in the same room and it wasn't going all the way. Consent of both partners and including your own spouse. Although sometimes it was in other rooms, but the agreement was that you wouldn't go all the way. However, even that is problematic. Example, there was one of the couples that would host some of these parties apparently had a 5 and a 6-year-old child who were awake and present during these parties. And when someone said, maybe that's not a good idea if the kids are awake, maybe we should wait till they go to bed, parents seriously said, oh, they're too young, they won't remember, it's okay.
No.
So that's what we're talking about. Like once they for them, crossing that Rubicon is a much bigger deal, and then they start falling faster than someone who might have just socially have drinks here and there. They're not going to fall down the cliff at the same rate. Hoping my thoughts are coming through clearly. I don't know. But the idea that, a 5 and 6-year-old are not going to remember anything and it's fine if we do whatever in front of them, that's problematic, including, I believe, illicit drugs. That's not cool. So eventually, shocker, not at all, emotions get involved. Because of course they would. This is not going to just be a physical thing. Like, hello, did you seriously think it was going to stay that way? Taylor says in some of her stuff that the whole group is texting each other. Sometimes you have individual text threads with smaller groups or one other person. And she was directly texting this other man. It was getting emotionally intimate with him very intensely. And then eventually one night she drives off and she meets him and tells her husband, oh, well, they were just making out, but admits later on that no, they had actually slept together. But then almost in the same breath, she says, I was so drunk that night. I was almost blackout drunk. So I remember it happening. It's sort of like implying that it's okay because she was just so drunk. What do you even say to that? Her husband at this point was like, okay, we need to stop doing this. This has gone too far. I'm okay with this whole soft swinging thing if it's only with strangers moving forward, but not within our friend group, because that's the emotions get in the way and it gets messy and problematic. So if we're going to keep doing this, it has to be just with strangers. And she's like, no. Okay then. And then of course that leads to divorce for them. The entire group now is divorced. Could have seen that coming a mile away. Like, what did you think was going to happen? After that divorce, then Taylor continues to be big, and she keeps doing the rage baity type stuff on her TikToks. I remember seeing one where it's like, I get ready with me as I get ready for church. And then part of it was like, see, people don't realize that Mormons can drink caffeine. And because she has like a Coke or something. Which, true, we can. It's coffee and like the tea plant specifically. It's not caffeine. But that's a common misconception. But she begins the video with her and her boyfriend, supposedly. Of course, the camera is set up, so it's all staged, but supposedly waking up in bed together. In this video, she's claiming that she's a good church-going Latter-day Saint, and it's okay to drink Coke, but it's like, but you're also waking up with your boyfriend, and then that's not according to the teachings, or you're not married to this guy. Like, what? She's purposely pairing things that don't fit. Like, pick a lane. Like, if you want to live a life and just live with your boyfriend, fine. I don't care. You do you. That's your life. But then it's like they're just trying to have every possible world at the same time, and that doesn't you can't do that. That is not how life works. She did a whole bunch of interviews on various podcasts, including a really long one with Jimmy Rex, a very conservative guy. He used to actually be on one of the jump teams with Tim Ballard, has since turned against Tim Ballard. I recommend looking up that video of his. He's far more conservative than I am usually comfortable with even, but he has a long interview with her that she did on February 6th of 2023, and she goes off about how, how much she's grown and learned and matured since the swinging parties and the divorce and blah, blah, blah. All the things in that video that just jumped out at me. At one point, she talks about the things that made me do what I did. She takes no accountability for the breakup of her marriage. It's almost like, oh, the devil made me do it. In fact, she also says that when she would go to church, it was always Sunday nights after she'd gone to church where like her anger would just explode. Like the devil was like really working on her extra hard on the days that she went to church, justifying her horrific behavior on the one hand, again, trying to be like, play both sides. It just is bizarre. She describes some of the games they would play, a spin the bottle version, where she's like, I know we were all kind of inexperienced, so this was our way of getting experience. A girl who had the bottle stop at her would put on a blindfold, and then all the guys would kiss her, and then she would have to identify her husband. And she goes, don't judge me because that's just such a silly game. It's like high school. And I'm like, oh, I'm judging you, but not because it's a silly game. I'm judging you because you stepped out on your marriage and will not take any kind of accountability for that. She said there were 3 couples involved. It sounds like there might have been 4 at some point. I'm not entirely sure, but 3 individuals who, quote, caught feelings, as she put it. She says that she and her husband hosted 2 ragers. She called it that, a month, but the whole group would get together twice a week. And I'm wondering, on what planet do you live where that's a normal thing? You'd meet up in a big group of friends for 2 parties a week, and you're hosting 2 of them each month. That's a lot. Do you have any kind of other life? I don't. That's crazy. She says that a week after she and the other man finally did the deed, that it somehow got leaked publicly. She didn't know how. Likely the man's wife found out about it and talked about it. But she starts talking about it online. The way she frames it is that she's almost implicating all of these other women on Mom Talk. But since she's not naming names, it's kind of painting all of them with the same brush. So nobody knows for sure who it is, who all was involved, but it could have been all of these people. And that's kind of classless too. It's one thing to say, oh, I'm not naming names because I don't want to be public and mean about it. I don't want to dox anyone or whatever. That's not why she didn't do it. I think she did it because it made it seem like a much bigger issue, and it got people ragey again, saying, are you implying that this person did? When it wasn't. Also claims that in order to do any of the soft swinging, she had to drink and get almost blackout drunk just to do it. Now, I wonder if that was at first. It sounds like she had some drinking problems later. But if that is the case, then maybe that's telling you, maybe your conscience is speaking up and saying, maybe I shouldn't be doing this. Just a thought. She's also annoyed. She said that the rest of the group isn't going down. Like their reputation isn't being sullied like hers. And I'm like, well, she was also the most vocal. And what comes next? That 911 call that was in the trailer? Yeah. She was the one involved in that, no one else. So, yeah. She also, in the Jimmy Rex interview, says that, well, after all, so church is for sinners, not for saints. Okay, true, but that's out of context. And MacKenzie Vance makes a really good point on this one as well, that it's for sinners who are trying to be better. Sinners who recognize that they're doing something potentially wrong and want to change. If you are doing things are wrong and they're going to hurt people, but you have no guilt, no recognition that this is wrong, no intent of changing, that is very disingenuous to be saying the church is for sinners, not saints, because you don't view yourself as a sinner in the first place. Interestingly enough, so she had her interview with Jeremy Rex on February 6th of 2023. 11 days later, 911 gets called to her house by a neighbor who, her neighbor is concerned. Says that she can hear a woman screaming for help. She thinks that Taylor is the one in trouble, and that she can't leave the house. The garage door she was banging and it's going up and down. That's not what was happening. But it was good she called 911. I'm going to pull up some of that video. It is hard to watch.
Bickering at each other. What's your name?
Taylor.
Taylor. The neighbors called in, saying they heard a bunch of yelling and screaming.
I'm sorry. I'm just hurting it.
Have you had a little bit too much to drink tonight? I can smell the alcohol pretty strong.
Sure, but not anything crazy. I went out on a girls' night and I came home. Safe driving. What did I do wrong so I can help myself? What did I do wrong?
help me to know so I can do better.
Well, it's not Taylor, look at me. It's not that you did anything wrong per se.
You notice right here, blacked out, that's her daughter looking through the window. Her very young daughter. I believe she was like 6 or 7.
We are just, the neighbors called in thinking that someone's getting hurt.
No one's getting hurt. I'm just so much there because I'm good divorce and I'm just so hurt. He pushed me in the garage and it's fine. I don't give a. I just want to move on. I don't give a. I just want to move on. I don't care. I pushed him. I hit him. He pushed me. I don't know what to say about it. And then we were fighting. And we were fighting at each other. And then he like, I was going at him, I guess hitting him. And then he pushed me into the kid stuff. And then I went ballistic because he pushed me so hard. And then I fought back. And then we were just fighting. And I just want him out. My daughter's right there. And then my son's up sleeping because we had my family member that was babysitting.
So that's MacKenzie kind of chopped down the highlights or the lowlights of the body cam there. Here's her version, or Taylor's version of what happened that night. She says that her boyfriend picks her up from this girls' night party and drives her back, and they got into a fight on the way and they just kept fighting. She says that she just went berserk, that's her word, and threw a metal chair at him. But that's okay because the kids were asleep. And she was like, she can't help her emotions. Probably the most honest statement she makes. She claimed that her boyfriend pushed her into the garage after she pushed him into the garage. And then you probably heard, and she says, tell me what I did wrong so I can do better. And then later she says, I just want to go to bed. Then she makes a phone call, calls her dad. And then after she hangs up, she goes, I'm sorry, I just want my dad. He's on his way. He's going to kick your butt or whatever. Claims that she's terrified of her boyfriend. His name was Dakota. That's public, so I'll use that. And he's an adult, so I'll use that. She claims that she was so afraid of Dakota that she wet her pants. Pants look completely dry. So that seems bizarre for her to even claim that. His story, understandably, is a little different. He said that he had spent the last hour and a half trying to leave the house. He drove her home, into the garage, I presume, because of everything else that happened, but she wouldn't get out of his truck. He went inside to get the babysitter, which sounds like it was a family member, maybe a niece or something like that, to help to get her out of the truck into the house. That's when she flips out. That she got out of the truck, but then she starts throwing things, starting with her phone. She closes the garage anytime he tries to open it, and that's what the neighbor was seeing. She pushed him into the garage door. She is throwing metal chairs at him. 3 of them. And at least once he gets hit in the arm and the hand. One, I believe it was the 3rd chair that actually hit her daughter in the head. Because she's right there. Apparently, according to him, she was jumping on top of his truck and was doing something to the doors. He thought one of the doors might even be broken. She stole his car keys, so he couldn't even leave in his truck. He says that he was scared. But then he kind of defends her and says, well, she's going through a lot. She was recently divorced, blah, blah, blah. He doesn't want to press charges, but the cops arrest her. Anyway, know that she threw 3 chairs at him and that the 3rd one hit her daughter. And she denies this, but he actually, the boyfriend, Dakota, had it on video. And at one point, then she's the one who gets arrested because she's the one who was committing the assault. And she can't believe that Dakota's not getting arrested. And she literally says, I'm a girl. I mean, she's so clearly drunk and in distress. It's difficult on so many levels, but at the same time, it just shows the level of immaturity. She was playing with fire and it blew up. I heard across different outlets, I heard slightly different variations on what her charges were, but it's somewhere in this ballpark. It appears that she had at least 1, if not 2 charges of domestic V in the presence of a child, at least 1, and there might have been a second one causing injury, and an account of assault, a count of criminal mischief, and potentially a separate count of child abuse. There were 4 charges, however, they're broken down. I'm not entirely, like I said, the different outlets reported them slightly differently, but it does seem consistent that there were 4 charges. She pled guilty to 1 in exchange for having the rest dismissed. That pleading happened in August of 2023, keeping in mind again that she was arrested in February, 11 days after saying, oh, look how much I've learned and grown from this divorce soft swinging experience. She loses her mind, attacks her boyfriend, and gets arrested. So she blames her bad behavior on the devil and on daddy issues. I've already talked about the devil one, but the daddy issues is strange because she sounds like she called on her dad for help. It's not like he abandoned her or as far as we know. Sounds like he was a support. So I don't know. She and Dakota stayed together and they now have a child. They had a baby that was born spring of 2024. That's kind of the latest of what we knew, except for right about the time the baby was born, she was teasing that there was something really big in the works. And now we know that that is the Secret Wives of Mormon Wives TV show that is about to premiere on Hulu. Why did this was such a big deal in the first place? Well, in the church, it's you're making covenants. And that's a much bigger thing than just breaking a rule. Like, I fell off the wagon. I was trying to go off sugar and I ate some Oreos. That's not what we're talking about here. It's like I made a commitment to these things and I'm deliberately stepping across that line. And once you step across that line, then what else is up for grabs? What other promise is fair game to break? You start lying to yourself, and then your spouse also can't trust you either. You can't trust yourself, you can't trust your spouse, you can't trust anyone, and no wonder the foundation that you've built things on crumbles. So the problem in and of itself wasn't the alcohol or the swinging. Betraying yourself and betraying your spouse. That is the problem. And knowing in your gut that that's breaking something that you promised to yourself that you would never do. And then you stop trusting yourself on some level as well. It's the cognitive dissonance. Like, I'm a good person, but I know in my heart I'm not. And again, it's not about drinking alcohol makes you a bad person. That's not at all what I'm saying. It's that it's not being true to yourself. And if you have these certain values and you said you did, it's doing things against what you believe in your heart you shouldn't be doing. So you're jumping to a whole new, straight to 11, If you're living in a culture of monogamy, making covenants, then you're not going to have a successful poly relationship if you're jumping from that straight into that. It's just not going to happen. It really made me annoyed in the trailer. Yeah, be a mother by 21, or 16 in my case. Do they realize how stupid this makes them sound? Because no one is saying that. No one is saying be 16 and have a baby. Literally, there's no one saying that. So, no. But yeah, that's why I think this whole situation with Taylor Frankie Paul and the church's statement about the media, I think this is why the church made the statement now, because it is not remotely an accurate portrayal of what we believe or what most people are doing, even behind closed doors. Does this kind of stuff happen? Of course. And I'm not blindly innocent of the stuff. I get it. At the same time, it's not the norm. It's not what we believe. And Taylor herself has been very clear that she doesn't follow the rules, and she's kind of proud of that. Try to keep it classy. Try to come back from it. But she knows she gets clicks and views if she can use those. Oh, I'm a Mormon mom. Watch me. No, you're not. Not remotely. Just as neither is Hannah Nealman of Ballerina Form. That's not a good representation of us either. Just the idea, though, of how this whole swinging things got started, it's kind of gross. I need a truffle or something to kind of wash the nastiness out of my mouth. Let me know what you think. Thank you for watching all the way to the end. Please give the video a like. It really helps. If you're new, subscribe, hit the notification bell, and let me know what you think in the comments. Drop some chocolate emojis while you're at it. And are you going to watch the Hulu show? Do you want me to watch it and report on it? Because I'll probably be raging mad if I do. I will if you want. Let me know in the comments. Okay, gotta go get that truffle. Go get yourself something to get the bitterness out of this.